Hello genealogy addicts, and welcome back to Craft Time with Auntie Jen. Now today we are going to be doing something that I have been dying to work on for the last couple of years. We are going to make a greeting card book. What is this, you say? Well, let me explain. A few years ago I was searching around on Pinterest, like most of us do, and I came across this wonderful idea: turning your greeting cards into a book. This is the original pin that I saw, and I thought, hey, this is a great idea. This is something I could possibly do. Let's investigate this some more. The question had come up, what do we do with all of the greeting cards that we keep? You know, a lot of them are very special to us. They're given to us by our grandparents, great-grandparents sometimes, aunts, uncles, people who have passed away. Some of them have really special messages written in them, and we don't really want to get rid of those. Now, fast forward a few years later to now, when I came across some wedding cards that belonged to my parents. They were mixed in with a box of photos that I didn't even know existed in my parents' basement. So I collected all the cards out of there, and this was last year when I found them, and I showed them to my dad and my mom. I said, look what I found! I found your wedding cards! And they thought that was pretty neat. So I thought I would surprise them and turn them into the greeting card book. Finally work on this greeting card book I've been wanting to work on for, like I said, a couple of years. So I started researching some more, because the original idea with the ring binder, I wasn't too sure about. I wasn't too sure if that was going to work or whatever. I just wasn't too happy with it. So I started researching a little bit more about ideas on how to turn this into a book. And then I came across these tutorials on YouTube on how to make these journals. I'm sure you've seen them everywhere. It was like an explosion of videos of people making these beautiful junk journals. And I thought, hey, why can't I transfer some of those techniques into making this greeting card book? And I actually did run across one tutorial that did exactly what I was wanting to do, which was turning the greeting cards into a book. And that is by C. Lemon. Jennifer at C. Lemon has wonderful tutorials on how to make these beautiful books and crafts and such. So I followed her tutorial. Oh my gosh, it was so easy to follow. Anyways, so I decided I was going to do that for my parents. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to share that with my dad because he passed away, as I've mentioned probably in every single video that I've had ever since. And so y'all are aware of that. But I decided, you know, I'm still going to give this to my mom for their anniversary. And their anniversary is on Flag Day. So I wanted to make sure that I got this done in time to do that. Now, I'm not going to lie, this project is a little bit more advanced than some of the other things that I have worked on. And you will need to have some basic knowledge of sewing in order to do this. And it also helps to have the right materials. Materials that you will need include thread, like embroidery thread or wax thread, a needle, scissors, a push pin, obviously the cards, some binder clips, and if you wish to add in extra pages like I actually did in mine, which I will explain later, you'll need some cardstock. And I think that that's pretty much it. Now that's if you just want to make the greeting card book itself. Now I had to take it one step further, and I decided to make a cover for my greeting card book. Now when I originally sat down to do this project, I didn't expect it to take as long as it did. So I'm actually going to be breaking this project up into a couple of parts. So part one, which is what you're watching right now, is going to be just sewing the greeting card book with a Coptic Stitch. The next video will be us making the cover for the actual greeting cards. So yeah, after this video, if you wish to create a cover for your greeting card book, then you'll have to watch the next video when that comes out. But for now, we're just going to focus on this today. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so here is everything, pretty much everything we're going to be working with today. We've got the greeting cards that were my parents', and I've already got them pinned together in the order that I want them to go. That's why they're already put together. But we'll get to that in just a minute. So we got the cards, and I'm also going to be adding some photos from their actual wedding day to this little book, because I thought it was just going to add something a little extra. So we'll be adding those, and this is the thread we're going to be using also to put the cards together and put the cover on. And then of course we've got the papers that we've chosen to use for the cover. I've got these at Michael's, and I love the coloring. I just thought it fit perfectly with a wedding greeting card book, so that's why I chose them. And I will explain in detail more about the cover when we get to it. But first, we're going to be working on the greeting cards, sewing them together using the Coptic Stitch. So let's get started with that. Okay, so here we go. So we've got our greeting cards, and I've got some cardstock here that I'm also going to be adding in with the greeting card book so I can put the photos on it that I also had printed out and anything little extra. So we will be adding those to this as well and sewing them together. Now, according to the tutorial from C Lemon, you're going to take your cards and you're going to put them all together in the order that you want them to be in, and then you're going to set them flat on the table and make them nice and flat along the edge where they fold. And that's what I've already done here. But since I'm going to go ahead and add these into it, I'm going to have to redo this step. So let's do that now. Okay, we've got it all pinned together. I actually had to exchange out the two smaller clips for a bigger one because it's a little bit thicker than I thought it was going to be with the cardstock added in. But now all the cards are in order the way that I want them to be, and I've got my one cardstock in the middle, and I made sure all the small cards are where they're supposed to be in the middle here. So now what we will do next is we will mark on the spine where we are going to be sewing our holes. That way it's all uniform. So that's what we're going to do. Now you're going to want to look at the spine and make sure you're marking where the cards are. C Lemon had a piece of paper where she measured out how far apart to do it, but I'm just going to eyeball it. Okay, so there's going to be our marks on where we're going to be sewing. Make sure it's on every single card. Okay. Then next, we're going to take the clip off. Okay, now the next step is to take each card and poke a hole where we marked on the card with a thumbtack. So that's what we're going to do next. Now make sure you keep the cards in order when you're doing this. So that's the front one. Alright, now that that is all done, we keep them in the order that they're in. Next, we're going to work on actually stitching these together using the Coptic Stitch. Now, this is something new that I have never tried before, so you're going to have to bear with me. I would suggest checking out C Lemon's tutorial on how to do a Coptic Stitch, and that link is in the description as well as in the card above. So, let's see. The next thing we're gonna do is you pick out the thread that you want to use. And I chose this one. It's a very light gray. I thought it was gonna be perfect for the theme that I was going for. And she says you need to cut the length of string approximately however many cards you have. And I have 10 cards, and that's an awful lot of string, which I have. And I don't know about you, but I tend to get knotted up fairly easily. So I don't have quite as much string. If I need to add more, she explains how to add more. So we're gonna go with that and hopefully keep these things from knotting up. But let's get started on the Coptic stitch. Okay, so what we do is we start with the very bottom card, which is this one here. And we're gonna sew into, I'm gonna start by sewing through the top hole. Pull all the string through. All the string through. This is where I always get knotted up, so. And then what you want to do is leave just a little bit of thread on the end to tie your knot. So there we go. Leave a little bit of that. Next, we're going to return back through that loop that we just back through that hole that we just sewed through, and we're going to leave a little loop on the end. So we're going to stick our needle back through and just not through the string. Not through the string. Okay. And then pull it through and pull it through. And then we're going to leave a little loop, just a little one, once we get all through all of our thread. All right, see, we've got just a little loop left here on the end. All right, and that's exactly what we want. Then next, we're gonna go through the next hole and do the exact same thing that we just did. So go through. Okay, and then now we should be able to tie a knot in the end here. We're going through and then tying. Make sure the loop is still there. Yep, our loop is still there, which is good. And our knot is tight, and we're good to go. And then we're just going to continue doing this all the way up here by creating these loops on the outside. So we're going to do that. Okay, once you get done with all of your loops and you're through the very last hole, you're going to take the next card up and sew through the bottom hole, connecting them together. Okay, and once that is through, then you're going to sew out through the next hole up. Now this card's a little more tricky because this one doesn't open up normal, so I'm having a little trouble with this one, but we'll get through it. There we go. We sew through that hole. Make sure it's nice and tight. And then you're going to sew through that little loop that's right there. See? Just like that. And once you're through that loop, then you're going to go back through that hole that you just came through. And then you're going to repeat that process for the next holes. All right, and then when you get to the very last loop, you're going to pull through without getting knotted up. Okay, make sure that that's all the way through and tightened and you got no slack. This is where you're going to then attach the next card up. And this is where you're going to go in then to a classic Coptic stitch. Now this is where I went to the second tutorial done by Sea Lemon to understand exactly how to do a correct Coptic stitch. So bear with me as I do this. All right, so we sewed through there. Now, so once you go through that bottom hole, you're going to go to the next hole in the card and go through very gently, hopefully. There we go. Pull that all the way through so it's nice and tight. All right, and then once you're through, you're going to take your needle and go around the binding that's right there, which she calls as a signature. You go around that signature, pull through, and then you're going to go back through that hole that you just came through on the new card. Make sure it's nice and tight, and then you're going to repeat that process. You're going to go back through the next hole, like so, then you're going to wrap it around the signature that's right next to it, right there. Pull it through. And then back through that hole. And that's a basic Coptic stitch, and it's really not that hard. It's just getting started that seems to be a little bit I tend to have troubles with. So that's what you're gonna do for all of the cards that you're gonna put in here. So that's what I'm gonna work on here. Oops, we got a loop. No loops, no loops allowed. There we go. Tighter. So see, and it's going to look like that when you're on the inside. So I'm going to continue sewing all of these cards together using a Coptic stitch, and then when we get to the very last, I'll show you what we're going to do. So, well, you better get sewing. We got a lot of cards to get through. All right, we're doing a pretty good job here. We've got a couple cards sewn in here. Now moving on to the next ones. These are going to be the tricky ones where there's two small ones that we're going to put together. So, but we're going to sew them like they're one. So we're just going to continue to sew down the line. So we just pulled through the last card. We looped around the last signature that's down here. Now we're going to come up through this small card here like we would regularly and just keep going through. Go through here. I'm actually hoping this works. I haven't seen anyone do this, so I'm just trying it and seeing if it'll work. Just make sure they're nice and tight. All right, now we're going to loop it around the last signature that we just had. Make sure that's nice and taut. Okay. So loop it around the last signature there. Pull through. Eep. No knots. No knots allowed. No knots allowed. Okay, and then back through this card. Back through that same hole. Through the next hole. Pull it through. And then this is when we're going to attach this card here. See, we got the hole right there. So we're going to put it through there, and let's hope this works. We're going to wrap it around this signature right here. And then back up through this hole. And let's see how well this holds up. Okay, we're going to go to the next hole, go through. So far, so good. Back through the signature, pull through, back through the card, same hole. That's not too bad. I think that's going to work out fairly well. All right, we'll finish this one out and move on to the next card. All right, we're getting to the end. This is the last hole. You're gonna just do the same thing that you did before. You're gonna pull through the hole, go through the last signature, pull it through, and then go through that hole again. And then all you need to do at this point then is just tie a knot. And I'm going to do an extra knot just in case that hole opens up. It makes, you know, a little bit bigger. So just to be sure that there is a double knot, that's what I'm going to do. There we go. And that part is done. And really, if you wanted to, you could be completely done. If you don't want to have to make a cover, this is exactly the way that Sea Lemon had hers. She just finished it like this and left it alone from there. I mean, you know, you're stitched up real good, you know, it's good to find just the way it is. But me personally, I wanted to put a cover with these just to keep the spine a little bit more safe and to kind of hold it together and, you know, just make it a little bit more sturdy. That's just my personal preference. But if you wanted to, you could just go ahead and decorate the cardstock pages however you wanted, put any photos in there, and call it done if you really wanted to. But if you'd like to do a cover, stay tuned. That's what we're gonna do next. There you have it. That's part one, and we're completely done with that. Now, like I said, if you want to be done at this part, then you don't have to go on to the next video and make a cover. That was just something I personally preferred to do. So if you want to, go ahead, start decorating up your greeting card book and present it to who you want to present it to, or keep it for yourself, whoever you were making this for. That's all that matters. But if you want to see how I made a cover, then go on to the next video and you'll see the link in the description, or the card will come up here at the end of this video. But anyways, that's all I've got for you today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this video entertaining and informative. I hope it will lead you to creating your own greeting card books. And if you do, please hop over to my social medias, whether it be on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, any of them. Show me what you created. I would love to see what you did with this video, and I hope it was really helpful for you. So if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit the little notification bell so you don't miss when I do upload new videos, especially the next video that's going to be coming here pretty soon for the cover for this greeting card book. Thank you so much for being with me today, and we'll see you next time, genealogy addicts.